Hello. Hi,
Hey,
John. How
hello.
are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good too. So, a good night to you. It's 10 p.m. there right now. It's
It is.
and it's like 10 a.m. for me. Yeah. This is like my first time hosting a 12-hour difference because it's kind of hard to match with the timing, right? Okay,
It
so
is.
anyway, today we're going to talk about how is it to have these musicians' values so we can lead like a fulfilled content lifestyle that we're grateful for like every day. Okay, so the first time I'm going to introduce you to our community, for our friends here because we don't have this much knowledge about jazz musicians actually
Hmm.
because most of our world is more to like pop music and all that stuff, right? Okay, so
Hmm.
I think you're a really talented person, and ever since I listened to your songs, I was like, oh my God, it's so addictive. I keep on listening to it, like, oh, I like it, And then like, okay, I think like people, like especially my friends, they should know more about you, and so today I hope that they get to know you more. Okay, so. You can play all this saxophone from tenor, soprano, and alto, right? So how did you
Correct.
manage to learn that?
So it actually started out on clarinet when I was in elementary school.
Oh.
But then after 1 year, I got tired of the sound of the clarinet and I really liked the saxophone, so I wanted to learn it. And it also goes
Oh, I
back to
see.
my parents. My mother used to
Mm,
always have jazz music on in the car when we were driving,
wow.
and so like I would
Mhm.
always be hearing the saxophone, always the saxophone. So
Oh, I see. So your
so then I
parents
picked up
are
the
more into jazz?
no, actually not. I mean, my mom, yes, but
Oh, I
my dad
see.
was more of a like a he taught himself how to play guitar, and
Oh,
so
that's
he was more
cool.
of a rock guy. But
Mm,
then when I started playing saxophone, he became more of a
mhm.
jazz guy.
Oh, I see. So it's like, how do you get like influenced by a rock influence or just like, for example, only jazz?
Um, I would say it was more my mom with the saxophone, just always hearing that in the
Oh,
car
I
and
see.
everywhere.
Mm.
And then we ended up going to a concert as a family, and my
Oh,
dad
really?
it was a jazz concert. It was a saxophone, and he never really
Wow.
liked saxophone
Mm.
really before that. But then after that concert, he was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
"This is so good."
This is so cool. Yes. I know what that means. I know how that feels. Okay. All right. And then next one. Okay. So, you have performed to like different countries, right? And
Yes.
how do you manage to like go to these countries? Is it like by promotion by yourself or maybe like a friend of a friend or how does it work?
So a lot of the countries that I traveled to were actually with an orchestra.
Oh,
It
cool,
was
cool,
back when
cool.
I was it started in late high school, but then into college. And so we went
Mm-mm.
to South Korea twice.
Mm.
Um, let's see, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic,
Yeah, yeah.
Bolivia, so a whole bunch of
Oh my
places.
God. Yeah, 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 yeah. So the orchestra is like a full orchestra?
It was a full orchestra, yeah. It had the
Mm.
standard orchestration plus saxophones.
Oh,
And
really? So it's
they
like
just
a more
happened to be
jazz?
needing it was more classical, I would say. It was definitely more classical,
Wow,
but
really?
it was a mix. It was more contemporary, but they needed
Yeah, yeah,
saxophones,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
somehow through the grapevine, they called me and said, "Hey, will you
Yeah,
come
yeah,
join
yeah.
us?" And I
That's
ended
so
up playing with
exciting
them.
actually. Yeah, yeah. Did you or like were you like surprised at first when they're like inviting you to a classical setting?
Um, I actually started out on classical saxophone before
Oh,
jazz,
I see.
so not
Mm.
entirely surprised. But it definitely was a
That's
very
funny.
interesting.
Hmm.
We got a phone call one night, and it was basically,
Hmm.
"Hi, we found out you play saxophone, and we need a saxophone. It's like, come join us." And oh, by the
Oh,
way, we're
I see.
traveling internationally in like 4 months. It's like, what?
Wow. So 4 months all the way you're traveling
Yeah.
and
Uh,
non-stop?
Well, it was only a 2 week
Mm,
trip, but it was more like, come join
mm,
us. We have 4 months of rehearsal,
mm-mm.
and then we're going over
Oh yeah, that's true. That's
to
true. Yeah, yeah,
China. And it was like, what? Okay, what? We're going where?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really cool because like when you play in a large setting, you have to be able to work together with the team, right? And everybody
Correct.
has to know like how you play and how we can connect musically because it's different when like we don't know like for example like we don't know you and we don't never play together. It's like a
Hmm.
different setting when we even try to breathe the same phrase, you know? It will take
Right.
like some adjustments. Yeah, that's really cool. So in 4 months, you perform 2 weeks the whole day, like for example, 2 weeks from Monday to Sunday nonstop, or how does it work? The
Yeah.
concert? Wow.
It was about 10 days straight of performance. When
Yeah, I
we ended up
see.
going, it was South Korea first, and we landed there
Mhm.
at 3 o'clock in the morning Korea time,
Oh my God.
drove straight to where we were going, and had 10
Uh-huh.
hours straight of rehearsal. I was so
Oh
jet
my
lagged, so tired.
God.
It was,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I
and
know
then
how
two
that
days
feels.
later, we
Even
were out
like,
there.
yeah. I mean, like, can
two
you
days
sleep the
later,
first night after you arrive
uh,
there?
yes, but I had been awake for about 40 hours straight. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Musicians and our lives. Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay. Okay, and then the next one, about this smooth jazz and R&B and funk style. How do
hmm.
you actually like I mean like how do you make it as whole?
Hmm. So how do I make it like
Is it a
a
hard
whole
question?
sound?
Yeah, I mean like because like R&B is a bit more to like hip hop, you know, it's like different things
Hmm.
sometimes. And then funk is also different. And then how do you like connect them, you know?
So I think it all comes down to the groove. Like every song
Mm-hmm.
is going to have a melody, every song is going to have
Mm-hmm.
rhythm, and every song is going to have harmony, no matter what
Mm-hmm.
style it is, whether it be classical, rock, jazz.
Mm, that is
Um,
true.
so there's a lot of actually influence between R&B and funk in terms
Mm,
of some of those really heavy
yeah,
bass and drum
yeah.
grooves. And so then it's just a matter of
Mm,
putting some maybe some jazz harmonies, jazz chords on top of that
mm,
with a
mm.
saxophone or piano. It's nothing new. It's
Oh.
more there's a lot of musicians that have done it.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
find my
yeah.
inspiration there and put my
Mm-mm.
twist on it.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. Because like funk is more to heavier actually. Funk is the heaviest because
Hmm.
like smooth jazz and R&B they can connect like seamlessly. Yes, I understand that. But funk is like heavier, right? Or
Right.
can
Funk
you
will
make it
generally
lighter?
be a little bit heavier, maybe
Mm,
a little bit more up tempo, more exciting. And so
yeah, that is true.
I guess it's just a combination. So sometimes some of my songs are more relaxed and more slower, and other songs that
Mm,
I have are more up tempo and upbeat. So it's really just a mix of styles. I mean, but I'll pull from
mm,
blues, I'll pull from jazz, pull from my days
mm.
of orchestra music when you start to hear all these
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
orchestrations of
yeah.
big
That
builds
is
and
true.
then like dynamics. So it's a little bit of a mix of everything.
Yeah, yeah. I really like it when you say it because like we are actually composed of like everything. We cannot like sometimes people would say to me like because I'm classically trained. Okay, you're classical and you cannot do other things. I mean like yes, that is true on one point, but of course I want to do other things because we cannot do like the same thing over and over again, right? And we want to
Hmm.
improve and we want to know more of other things. And of course, we're influenced when we're like little, and we're influenced with a lot of music. Like for your example is you're influenced by rock and jazz by your parents, right? And
Hmm.
you cannot say that oh you're just a jazz musician. You cannot do classical or something like that. And I really like it when you say it. It proves like a lot of points that some people actually not open to this kind of statement. That is a really good one. Thank you for saying that.
Hmm.
Okay. And the next one, how about your Midnight Motion Band? How did you form it at first?
It's actually a funny story. When I'm not playing music, I actually work during the day at time for a
Uh-huh.
healthcare organization, and so
Wow.
I was
Thank you for
just
your
doing
service.
does. I'm just on the sidelines. I do the business side of
Okay.
things, keep things running.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a researcher come in. He's actually at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, getting some
Oh.
physics PhD. So he's
Mm.
very studious, the opposite of me. I mean, I am studious, but like not PhD. And
I know what you mean.
and he grew up in Japan. He
Mm.
was born in South Korea, grew up in Japan, came to the U.S. to go to
Mm-hmm.
college, and he
Mm-hmm.
sat down. He came into our office
Mm-hmm.
to kind of work there, and
Oh.
somebody had told him, "Oh, you should go talk to John. He plays the saxophone."
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
so he just walks up to me. I'm sitting at my desk, and he says,
Uh-huh.
"You play saxophone?" I said, "Yes, I do." He's like, "I play drums."
Oh my
Um,
God. Just like
two
that.
weeks, yeah, just like
Uh-huh.
that. 2 weeks later,
Uh-huh.
we went out to coffee, and next thing
Mm-hmm.
you know, we realized we liked the same styles of music.
Yeah.
We clicked. We had a really good working
Mm-hmm.
relationship that from there we said, all right, we want to make a band. We want to do this. And so
Oh my God, that's
we
really
just started
cool.
finding more people, and it comes
Mm.
down to not just finding more people, but finding the right people.
Oh my God, that's so
Um,
true. Mm.
so
Mm-hmm.
when I was in high school, I had a really great band, a really great group of
Mm-hmm.
people. We were all in high school.
Mm-hmm.
We really got along well together. And then college,
Mm-hmm.
it's harder. Being at Berkeley, you have
Yeah.
so much talent, but just
Yeah,
because you have
that is
so
true.
much talent doesn't mean you have
Mhm.
such good people to work with all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So at
I
times it was
understand
very
what you mean.
frustrating. And so I would
Mm.
try to make a new, but like always try to replace somebody or make a new band or start
Oh,
with a
I
new
understand.
group.
Yeah. Mm.
And it would last for a little bit, and then something would happen, and it would just not work.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
then,
I
when I
mean,
wasn't even
like,
really trying to make a
connecting is
band,
hard. Yeah, yeah,
exactly
yeah.
connecting.
At one point, you're like, okay, I'm so tired of you trying because, like, there's actually someone who said to me because getting to know a new person is sometimes tiring because
Hmm.
you have to start from the beginning, from zero, from everything that you want to know about this person and how actually we can connect with each other and work together. Because working together requires effort and sometimes compromising, like,
Absolutely.
for example, like how this person behaves and how they do they like to work because sometimes even we have different styles of work like oh I don't
Hmm.
like going like practice for like 2 hours straight or something like that,
Oh,
right?
I've worked with people that we would have 4 hours straight of rehearsal and only
Oh
get
my God.
maybe 30 minutes of actual work done, and it would just be so frustrating
Really?
because I'm somebody that wants to
Mm.
work, but people would show
Yeah.
up and it would be like, oh, it's
Mm.
time to go eat food, or they'd show up an hour late.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
I know that.
I've played with people that just
Hmm.
you'd be on the way to the gig. You would show up at the
Hmm.
gig. You would set
Hmm.
up and you'd be like, "Where's the keyboard player?"
And where
Uh,
is it? And where
well,
is
he eventually showed up, uh, right like 10 minutes before we were supposed to play. But
Wow.
it, it, so I guess the point to answer your
Uh-huh.
question was just after lots of and I've played. Everybody was generally good people. I've made
Uh-huh.
good relationships
Yeah.
with all of these people and really good
Hmm.
times playing. But sometimes it's just a matter of patience and waiting.
Hmm.
And when the right people come, you will know it. And it'll happen
Yeah.
randomly. You can try. You might find the right person. You
Mm-hmm.
might reach out to people, network. It's always good to network. But
Hmm.
sometimes it just happens. And in this specific case with Midnight Motion, it just happened. Next thing you know, it was
Yeah.
saxophone and drums,
Hmm.
and then a couple
Hmm.
weeks later, it was saxophone, drums, and guitar, and then
Yeah,
like
it's like
another
so
month later, it
cool.
was saxophone,
Yeah.
drums, guitar, and bass,
Mm-mm.
and
Mm-mm. Oh, would you say that it comes easily or no, not? What do you think?
I would say not. I would say not.
Okay. Uh-huh.
It's
It's
always hard to find the right people, and
yeah.
you really need a core team around yourself. That means maybe
Mm,
if you work with 10 people or you have a band of 6 people like Midnight Motion, you need
mm,
a core group of people that if anybody else were to leave or to come and to go, or there were to be an issue within the group, you still have your core of maybe two or three people that no matter what happens, you're always sticking together.
Yeah, that is the most important thing. Like how actually we can take care of each other's back, because at
Right.
times when you are in a team, and for example, somebody actually post a comment on your performance, and somebody said, oh, actually your, for example, keyboard or your, I don't know, your saxophone is not playing really well. And actually, if that person who hears it is your team member, and the person who really cares about you, he or she will actually protect you. Oh, are you sure? Let me just check on it, Not like,
Hmm.
oh yeah, he played so bad or something like that. Yeah, because like that sometimes actually happen to us, even though it's not like the person in our team. It can also be like a person like closest to you, and sometimes
Right.
it's really good to give criticism, and those criticisms are actually important for us so we can actually improve, because sometimes we cannot see the things
Hmm.
that are like missing like right in front of our eyes, right?
Oh yeah.
And have you ever like experienced something like that?
Uh, I would say that my toughest critic is probably my father. Ever since
Oh.
he really has been my biggest supporter through it all, and I can't thank him enough. But yeah, we'll get in the studio together. He's actually my recording engineer, and
Wow.
we'll get in the studio and I'll record something and I'll play a note
Mhm.
and he'll listen. I'll finish the song and he'll push the button and he'll say, "Listen to this note. I think you can play it better."
Mhm.
And I'm kind of like,
Oh
oh,
my
what are
God,
you
that's
talking
really good.
about? Like, I record, like, I'm ready to be
Yeah,
done with
yeah,
this
yeah,
song,
yeah,
move on
yeah.
to the next one. And
Yeah.
then
Mhm.
he'll listen to it back, and I'll be like,
Mhm.
you know what? Yeah, you're right.
Oh my God.
uh,
That is actually kind of happened to me too, because my mother was a manager for like music stuff, like a music agency, like back when she was younger. And she knows like if I do something wrong, and she was just, yeah, it doesn't sound really good. Try it again. I mean, like our parents actually, yeah, they're actually our best critics because they know us
hmm.
better, like than other people, and they know actually how to push you. I
Oh
mean, like
yeah,
they
and
push you to like a point like you don't know that you can.
he'll hear things that no one else will hear, and at the end
Mhm.
of the day, it's like, yes, you were absolutely right. Let's play that again,
Yeah. Mhm.
or even the little things like, oh, even hey, you misspelled something on the next
Yeah.
show flyer. It's like, oops, yeah, let me go fix that. But it's great.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Hmm.
I, I don't really have any experience with team members necessarily going like, oh hey, like,
Mm.
that was really bad,
Yeah.
or like,
Mm.
but we've definitely as a
Hmm.
band had moments where it's
Mm.
like, okay, we definitely could have played that better.
Yes,
Hopefully that's in
that is correct.
rehearsal. Like we'll be practicing, and
Mm.
it'll be like, okay, no, that was not good. Let's try it again.
Mm-mm.
Because you want to do it when you play it on a concert, when you want to play it live,
Hmm.
you want
Hmm.
it to be great. But
Yeah,
we
that
we
is
haven't
right.
really had any moments where we've had to criticize each other per se.
Yeah, yeah, or like somebody else has criticized. Oh, well, actually, in my case, that happens like a lot of times. So we're totally on
Yeah,
different ways on that. Yeah.
I
Oh,
guess
by the way, how about
if it comes on
your
social
other
media,
band? Yeah,
the
that
other
is true.
bands.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see which
Is
ones.
it still going? I mean,
No.
the
Uh,
3 Groove, Jordan Lawson and the Groove, yes,
no,
and Give
those
Me
are all
Five.
my past bands. Past bands.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
The Gimme
Mm.
Five was it was an awesome band of Berkeley musicians mostly, and we played for about
Oh, I see.
3 or 4 years all around Boston,
Mm-hmm.
the New England
Mm-hmm.
area. It really was
Wow.
great. And John Lawson and the
Mm-hmm.
Groove was my band in college, and
I
3 AM Groove was
see.
before college.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it's not going on anymore, right? So like
No,
the recent ones is only Midnight Motion. Okay, I understand
as
that.
far as
Okay.
bands, yes.
Mm. Okay, how about your recordings? You have four full-length albums on Cruisin', and then City Light, Shine Gospel, and The Calling. and an album with 3 a.m. Groove, is it? So all of these albums are with like your past bands?
So let's see. So Cruisin' and City Lights were myself. They were
Okay.
recorded, produced. It's me,
Mm-mm.
my songs.
Okay.
3 a.m. Groove was with my old band.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
let's see, Shine, I collaborated with a bunch of other musicians and we put together that album
Mm.
together. It was
Wow.
mostly my arrangements of songs,
Yeah.
but we collaborated with some different singers.
And how long do you take to complete one album, one full-length album? How long is it?
So it starts.
Is it like so long?
It can be, but it also isn't. It depends. It starts with the composing of the songs, and so
Mm,
sometimes you just get in a mindset and almost like a flow, a groove where you're just really everything is coming to you in the songs,
mm,
and
mm-hmm.
so they'll sometimes go really fast, and then other times I
Oh, I see.
will start a song,
Mm-hmm.
not finish it, and then 10 years later be like, hey, you know what? That was actually a really cool idea. Let's finish it now.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And
It's
that
like
has actually
pause.
it has actually happened a couple times on
Mm-hmm.
Cruisin'. Was it on Cruisin' or
Mm,
it was either on the EP
mm,
I put out, Chill, where I had this
mm,
idea like 10 years ago, and
mm-hmm,
finally
mm-hmm.
it finally came back, the inspiration.
Yeah,
But so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
once you have it composed, then you have to practice, you have to get
Mm,
ready for it, and then you
that is
get in the
true.
studio, you record, and I would say
Mm-hmm,
it,
mm-hmm,
it can take a bit of time.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes I can get a couple songs done in a day. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
maybe it'll take a couple of recording sessions stretched out
Mm-mm.
over a couple months.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and then once you do that, you have all the mixing, the mastering, the
Yeah, that is true.
production, the so
Mm-hmm.
it really is about a year's long process to get an album
Yeah,
done.
yeah. Okay, okay. That is quite a long process because like everything starts from the beginning, right? Okay.
Right.
And then the next one. Okay. So okay, one second. Okay, so but your EP is Chill, Christmas Joy and Christmas Spirit,
Hmm.
right? So your EP, the Christmas Joy and Christmas Spirit is actually a different album.
Yes, they're both two separate four-song
Oh.
Christmas EPs.
Mhm,
So they're four songs
mhm.
each of Christmas music.
And these are all your productions, right? Not with the
Correct.
band. Okay,
Correct.
that's
These
good.
are all mine.
Okay. And your single "Always Remember" it was also your own production without the band.
Hmm.
Oh,
That
that's
was
very
me.
cool.
I recorded it
Uh-huh,
this past spring and released it in April.
uh-huh. Ah, and how long was a single process? Like to produce a single, how long was it?
That one was actually rather fast.
Mm-hmm.
It was a song I actually wrote many years ago and ended up rearranging it,
Oh.
re-recording it, and I
Mm.
actually debuted it about I think it was 9 years ago for Mother's Day. And
Really?
yes,
Uh-huh.
and so
Could you tell us
it
more
was a
about the story of the music?
um,
I'm so
so
curious.
it was actually
Mm-hmm.
a I debuted it at a church, and it was for Mother's Day. It was all this the last year students in high school. They would ask you to kind of
Mm-hmm.
stand up and give a talk, like a speech, kind of
Yeah.
saying, whatever. And I was said, well, could I play a song instead? And they were like,
Oh,
oh,
that's really
yes,
sweet.
absolutely. Like, we'd love for you to play a song. And
Mm-hmm.
so I wrote the
Mm-hmm.
song in about a couple weeks and ended up playing it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
so
And
I
what was the
dusted it
story of
off,
the
so to
music?
say. Um,
Uh-huh.
I don't really, the story of the music.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know.
Can you like put it into words?
Yeah.
Is it
I mean,
hard to put it into words?
I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just at the time that I wrote it, it was in my last year of high school, and I grew up in
Okay.
Maryland, right outside of Washington,
Mm,
D.C.
mm,
And a lot of changes were about to happen. I was going off to
yeah,
Berkeley in the fall, up in Boston. I
yeah,
was going to be away from my family for the first time. It was going to be a
yeah.
complete turnaround in my life.
Yeah.
And so I think always remember is always remember where you came from and always
Yeah.
remember the good times, everything that you're missing.
Yeah.
But don't
Oh my God,
necessarily
that's
be
really
sad
good.
about it,
Mm,
but just
that is
be
true.
glad that you have it.
Yeah. And it becomes your memory and it lasts forever in your life. That's a
Hmm.
really good one, John. Thank you. And about your Berkeley College, how long did you finish your college?
When did I finish?
Like
2017.
how long?
Uh,
And like 4 years or 3 years or what
four
was
years,
like the
4 years.
years? 4 years. Oh, I
Hmm.
see. Because actually I have like some friends actually who went to Berkeley, but they didn't take bachelor's. If I'm not wrong. I think they only like took like short courses or something, so it's
Hmm.
like really fast. And you can do that, right?
You can. They have four.
Mm,
Obviously, the standard program is 4 years. You can do it
yeah, yeah.
faster if you take summer classes. They have,
Oh,
I
I
believe they have a. It's
see.
like a
So it's like
degree
flexible.
diploma, right? And there's a degree program and
Mm.
a diploma program. And so some
Oh,
of them
I
are two
see.
years, some of them are. And then they have, if you want to go into music education or music therapy, then that's
Oh, they
actually a
have that too.
5 year program.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I understand that now. Okay. And also about your Louis Armstrong Jazz Award, how did you achieve that? And congratulations, by the way. That's really cool.
Thank you. It
Welcome.
was it was just playing in a jazz band, and each year they would nominate one person who I guess encompassed
Oh,
the spirit of Louis Armstrong. Just that
yeah, 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 yeah.
really who's not just the best musician, but who really is passionate
Hmm.
about it, who gives it their all.
Yeah.
And I was the one nominated, and yeah,
Yeah, that's
that
really
was that.
cool. So because like I thought it must be like through a competition or something. So actually it's not. It's just
No,
performing. Oh, I
right.
see. Because like Louis Armstrong is one of my faves jazz musician. It's like he's so cool. And you know what? My fave movie is actually the New Orleans. Have you watched that?
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my God, so cool. So I've been watching it for like 50 times. Yeah, I can stop listening to it. Oh, and the other one is the National Society of the Arts and Letter Award for Excellence in the Arts. Is it also
Hmm.
from jazz industry or not?
That was not necessarily jazz. That was more music in a whole,
General. Uh-huh.
right? In general, and it was very similar in the sense of great achievements, but also great passion for it, and for going
Yeah,
above and
yeah,
beyond.
yeah.
Not just like do you do the music what you're told to do, but do you do further? So
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
one
yeah.
that it was awarded to multiple people, but it was all from around different areas in Washington D.C., Maryland, Virginia, and
Oh, I see.
so that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
that was
that's
that one.
really cool. And also through performing, right?
Performing, writing, leading
Mm.
bands. It was like it's
Mm.
everything.
Oh, one question. Uh, before I have this talk show, I had a talk show with Edwin. So he
Hmm.
is a pianist from Vienna, and all of his music works, like his composition, is being submitted to one second, I forget. I think institution for members of the composers or something. I mean, like, do
Hmm.
you do also the same thing? Like, you submit your work to composer institution something?
Um, not not exactly. I guess I don't know if
Uh-huh.
it's a different style or if it's a different just being in a different country. They
Mm.
do have you do submit your music here, but it's very I guess oversaturated in the sense of now it's all about getting on
Mm-hmm.
Spotify playlists or getting your
That is
recordings.
true.
There are composition competitions per se, but
Mm.
it really is much more geared towards the recording. Except
Mm.
outside
Mm.
of I guess orchestra, big band, jazz, those have really big composition competitions and societies.
Wow. So
Outside of
cool.
that, it's people want to hear it. They want to hear the
Yeah, yeah,
song.
yeah. Oh, I see. Okay, so it's not necessarily you have to submit it to institution or something, right?
No, the standard is
Mm.
you write the song, you get it
Mm-hmm.
copyrighted with the U.S. government so nobody can steal your music, and
Oh,
then
okay.
you have the rights to use it for anything.
Okay, that's really good. Okay, so we're going to start actually with our main points for understanding musicians' values now. So we have several points to discuss. So the first one is discipline. So how would you say for a musician to be disciplined?
So I think the obvious answer always comes to practice. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, I do agree. You need to practice. You need to practice your instruments or singing, whatever it is that you do. Even if you don't play an instrument, if it's
Mm-hmm.
recording music and you're the person behind the computer, you need to practice that. But I think
Yeah,
sometimes practicing gets almost like put on too high of a pedestal, that it gets to
yeah.
the point where people only practice
Mm-hmm.
and they miss out
So it
on
becomes boring.
everything else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It,
I know what you mean.
it,
Mm-hmm.
there was a flute player that I used to play with in the orchestra, and he would lock
Mm-hmm.
himself in a practice room for 12 hours straight, and it was like, wow, like,
Oh.
I mean,
Yeah,
he
yeah, yeah.
was and is an amazing flute player, and it really shows the
Mm-hmm.
amount of hours. And at some point in time in your artist musician journey, you're
Yeah,
going to need to practice. But I think
yeah.
discipline gets associated with practice, but discipline also needs to be that you continue to just put in the work in whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's recording, whether it's composing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and don't worry if you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
if you don't think it sounds good now, or if you don't think you're playing well now, because you'll look back on it later in 5 years, 10 years, and be like, wow, I could have done that so much better. But
Mm.
putting in the
Yeah.
work and just practicing that and honing your skills, that you need to have that discipline. And if you fail, you can go one of two ways. You can either give up and just
Mm-hmm.
stay down and say, no, this
Yeah.
isn't for me. Or you can have the discipline to pick yourself back up and say, you know what, let's try
Mm-hmm.
this again.
Yeah, yeah, that is the most important thing because sometimes we don't know like when we feel like so down because sometimes we like being too hard on ourselves, when actually it's not really the purpose of music.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay, the second point is patience. So, how about that one?
I think patience kind of all goes in with discipline. I mean, they're all intertwined together in a
Yes.
great big picture of the
Hmm.
values of musicianship. But the perfect example is you asked me earlier about how did Midnight Motion happen.
Mm.
Well, there was patience there,
Yeah.
in the sense of just being patient, and waiting for the right people to come to you. The number of times I tried to do things with not necessarily the
Hmm.
right people, and it was really frustrating because it was like I keep trying
Hmm.
this, I keep trying that, and it's just not working. So the
Yeah,
patience
yeah,
to
yeah.
not
I mean, like
necessarily
you have to
wait for it.
persist through it. Yeah,
Right. And you need to have the
yeah.
patience to know that more will come. And I guess it's the same thing with
Mm.
practicing. And when I actually first picked up the soprano sax,
Hmm.
uh, it was the second sax. Well, I started on alto, then stopped, then played
Mm.
tenor, and then eventually I picked up the soprano. And the
Uh-huh.
soprano was actually really, really hard to play
Really?
starting out. The mouthpiece is really small,
Oh,
and
oh,
so
I see.
I could play it for maybe 20 minutes, and then my mouth
Uh-huh.
would just start to hurt, like really, really bad. My
Yeah,
lips.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like
I
Thor, right?
Right, but I had
Uh-huh.
this indent in my lip, like on the inside of my
Oh,
lip, this indent from the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
mouthpiece,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it would hurt.
Uh-huh.
So I'd put it down, and then the
Hmm.
next day I'd pick it up again. Okay, 15 minutes, play it, put it down,
Hmm.
play again the
Oh
next
my
day until it
God.
hurt,
Mhm.
put it down,
Yeah,
and do that
yeah.
for, yeah, I couldn't remember if it was weeks or months, but the
Mm.
patience to do that every single day.
Yeah, yeah.
It, but
Going
then
through the
eventually,
pain. Oh my God, I can imagine that.
but then eventually the pain goes away, and
Yeah,
wow, I'm playing this thing. It is starting to sound pretty
yeah.
good, and it's
Hmm.
the same thing with if you're a recording artist and you put out music, and You put something out and you're like, oh, wow, I poured my heart and my soul into this song, and I can't
Yeah.
wait for the world to hear this. And then
Yes.
5 people listen to it. That's really, really
Hmm.
discouraging. When you
Yeah.
spend all this time and
That is
effort
right.
recording something and then nobody listens to
Mm-hmm.
it. Well, the patience is to
Yeah.
go back to the
That is
drawing
right.
board and say, all right, what can I do with the next song? And just have that patience to
Mm.
continue being diligent, back to the word diligence,
Mm-hmm.
to keep pushing on.
Yes. Yeah, that is right. Okay, and the third point is curiosity. And I know we mentioned this in our chats before, and it's actually really important because it connects to all of the things that actually we're doing.
Let your curiosity take you wherever it goes. Don't stop. Don't have any reservations or where that may go. If you're a saxophone player and all of a sudden you think you want to play trumpet, give it a try. If
Hmm.
that's what you're curious about, do
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
If you
yeah.
want to learn guitar, play guitar. Yeah, I always
Hmm.
played saxophone and never any other instruments. But
Hmm.
then at Berkeley, I had to
Hmm.
take a random class, and I chose to take a bass class,
Mm.
bass guitar. I was curious about it. It was just a curiosity.
Yeah.
And I took the class and then kind of just forgot about bass for 3 or 4 years. And then all of a sudden,
Wow.
I'm in a band,
Uh-huh.
and we didn't have a bass player. And the singer
Hmm.
goes, you know, we need bass on this song. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
right. We do
yeah.
need
I know
bass on
what you
this
mean.
song. And he looks at me and he
Hmm.
says, why don't you play bass? I'm like, okay, I haven't played bass in like 4 years. Even when I did play
Yeah,
bass, I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like very, very beginner. Like I'm not a good bass player.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
fine, but that was where my curiosity went. And so I picked up the bass and I'm like,
Hmm.
wow, you know what? This is fun. I'm enjoying this. This is a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then I played more bass, and I'm still not a great bass player. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
played in a musical in August. I played a
Hmm.
musical on bass, and it was like, whoa, what?
Wow.
Someone's actually like paying me to play bass guitar. This is wild.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Uh,
Oh my God, so
but
exciting.
if you don't let your curiosity just go wherever it goes, you're never going to find those opportunities. And so
Yes,
it ties into
yes.
everything else. It just if it's a different
Mm-mm.
style of music you want to try composing or playing, go for it. And if it doesn't work out,
Yeah,
have the patience and the diligence to continue with it, or
yeah.
just maybe your curiosity will go somewhere else, but you got to stay curious.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that is right. How about the next one? It's passion. Your passion for music and passion for, I think, for life. What do you think about that?
Obviously, passion is the key. Why else do you do something? And it doesn't just
Mm.
have to be music.
Yes.
Maybe sometimes we do things because money or status
Mm.
or
Mm.
anything like that. But I think that that's so terrible to think that you would do something that you're not passionate about just because it will pay you money or
That
just
is right.
because you'll be in a higher status in terms of, oh,
Mm.
well, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer. Well, if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, doctors and lawyers, we need
Mm.
them. They're great, fantastic, like,
Yes.
do it.
Yes.
Hats off to all the doctors and nurses throughout this entire pandemic. But
Mm.
if you're not passionate about something, then why are you even doing it?
That is right.
And that doesn't say that you
That
need
is
to be
right.
passionate about it every single day. You don't need to wake up every
Hmm.
morning, hop out of bed, and say, "All right, you know what? I'm ready to do music." Because then
I know what you mean.
you get in a dangerous situation where you could actually become burned out from it.
Yeah.
And burnout, it's terrible. It happened to
Yes.
me while I was at Berkeley. It's terrible. You don't feel like ever doing music again, and
Oh.
you're like, "Why am I doing this?" But
Hmm.
when you find that passion again, it could just be listening to music, playing an instrument, and when you find that passion, then it automatically clicks. You remember, this is why I'm doing it.
Yes.
This is why I
I mean,
love
like
music.
that's the goal. Yeah. I mean, like without passion, it's like you do it, but then like not wholeheartedly, and it's like not like extendedly, like not like beyond of what you can do. You will not push yourself to be better and better without passion.
The
Yeah,
passion
that is
is
a
the
really
driving
good point.
force.
Hmm. And how about the respect? The value of respect.
So respect goes in two ways. And one way is you need to have respect for your fellow musicians that you're working with. Obviously, that's very important.
Yeah.
To be responsible, show up on time, put in the work. If you going to play a gig or a concert and they've asked you to learn 10 songs, make sure you show up prepared. That's
Yes, that is
respecting
right.
the other musicians you're playing with.
Mm.
But it's also respecting yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the second part of respect is you need to respect yourself. And if you need a
Mm.
day off, take a day off.
Mm-hmm.
If you just
Mm.
need to go outside and get some fresh air and stop practicing for an hour, go outside, get some fresh air.
Yeah.
And then when you get on that concert, you'll thank yourself because you respected
Mm.
yourself to learn the music, to show up on time and professional, uh, and put out a good show. And at the end of that show, you're going to
Yeah.
say, you're going to be proud about it. And that's self-respect. That's respect to your fellow
Yes.
musicians, and that's self-respect.
That is well said. I really like it. Thank you for delivering that. Okay. And our last value is compassion for ourselves and also others. What are your thoughts about that one?
This one also goes hand in hand with respect, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it breaks down a little bit further in that
Mm-hmm.
having compassion for others is noticing when maybe your bandmate or your teammate is something if they're a little off, if they're a little down
Mm.
about something at that time, and just taking the moment to say, hey, is everything okay?
Yeah.
And just being not just a musician colleague, but also a friend.
Yeah,
And
that
I
is
think,
true. Because we're not like robots.
right, nobody's a robot. Nobody's ever perfect. Mistakes will happen. And
Mm.
so having that compassion to, and that's what's great. It goes back to what we talked about earlier about finding the
Mm.
right people. And it's when you have
Yeah.
those people that you can, yes, they're your
Mm-hmm.
bandmates, yes, they're your teammates, but you can also say, they're my friends. Then you
Yes.
know you found a really special group of people. Um,
Yeah,
and then the
that is
compassion for
true.
yourself, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to take a
Mm-hmm.
day off. It's okay
Yeah.
to treat yourself to that slice of chocolate cake when you're feeling down.
Yes.
It's okay. It's okay to
Yeah,
just
that is
set
true.
your instrument down and listen to your favorite music
Mm.
or watch your favorite movie. It's okay. That's compassion to yourself, and you need that.
Yeah, that is right. Yeah, that is true. Thank you for telling that to us. Okay, so we're going to do a question answer session. So this one is quite a lot. Okay, so the first one, what is the most important quality that a musician should possess? Like, like the ultimate one. Mm.
This is a really hard question because I think it's really all of the values that we talked about, and even more
Yeah,
than that. But
yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's one of the qualities. But one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite lines is when you're a aspiring artist, a starting out musician, even further along, you
Mm.
need to know something about everything until you
Oh, that's
meet
true.
people who know more than you.
Mm-hmm. That is a good
So
one.
I think this sums up passion. I think it sums up curiosity, creativity, in
Yeah,
that it's not good enough just to sit in the practice room and be the best violinist. You need
yeah.
to be a fantastic violinist, know how
Mm-hmm.
to market yourself, know the business, and that's the part that always
Yeah,
gets overlooked. And the
yeah.
business is ever changing, so we're always learning, but you need to
True.
be business, you need to be recording, you need to be composition, you
Yes,
need to it's almost like wearing
yes.
a bunch of different hats. So it isn't necessarily a
Yeah, that is
quality,
true.
but it's the most important value to me.
Thank you, thank you. That's really good. And how about how do you select musicians to be in your team or band for recording productions? I mean, like, what are the criteria that you usually try to find?
Good people first, good musicians
Mm,
second.
I see.
You can take a good musician and get a great
Mm-hmm,
recording more than you can take a
mm-hmm.
great musician, which you don't work well with, and you'll end up with a terrible recording. And
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
just comes back down to that who can you vibe with, who can you mesh with, who can you get
Mm,
along really well with. And so my strategy has always been find the person first, the musician second.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, that's a really good point too. So, with my mom was the manager of the music agency. She also actually does that. So she finds and her team find the person first, and then they will actually train the person to become better and better. Yeah, actually, that's a really good one. So, the next one, how do you manage team members, especially if there's a conflict? So, as we know, they have different personality.
Luckily, I haven't had to manage a conflict anytime recently, other than
Uh-huh.
COVID. That's been
Mm.
fun when we can't play gigs or when we
Yeah.
couldn't.
Uh-huh.
But I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes, from experience, sometimes conflicts when they happen,
Mm-hmm.
and people get upset, they get frustrated, they get mad at each other.
Yeah,
Sometimes
that
it's
is true.
best to just take a step back and
Mm.
wait for the tensions to calm down. And then when the tensions
Yeah.
calm down,
Uh-huh.
you'll be able to talk it out. You'll be able to work it out.
Mm.
I've never had an instance where I've had to just be like, well, actually, I take that back. I've had an instance where I had to be like, nope, we're done. We're
Uh-huh.
done. Like, this is not working. Like, this is over.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that was a
Mm-hmm.
very extreme situation. Other than that,
Yes.
it really has been, there have been little issues that come up here and there, but it's just
Mm.
take a step back, let the tensions calm down, and we'll pick
Yeah,
it up and go from there.
yeah. That's actually really good to hear. Yeah, there are actually some points where it's actually too extreme and it just cannot be resolved. Right. Yeah, it's better to just end it or else it will be like even worse. Yeah,
That's a
I
story
totally
for
get that
another day.
situation. Yes. And the next one, what is the most interesting combination of musicians in your team and why?
In terms of instruments or just personalities or both?
Both is okay. Both is okay. Hmm.
I mean, personality wise, we have a really interesting mix of people. I
Hmm.
think everybody kind of comes from a different place. Our pianist on my team is a jazz trained pianist. The drummer
Oh,
played punk rock in Japan growing
wow.
up. So
Okay.
from a music standpoint, it's a big
Hmm.
mix. The bass player plays about everything. He actually plays
Hmm.
more instruments than I can even name. He plays drums, he plays
Wow.
bass, guitar, saxophone, he
Uh-huh.
sings, he plays piano, and
Wow.
all over the place.
Uh-huh.
And so it's already a mix because it's so many different styles. We got punk rock and jazz and
Yeah.
this and that,
Yeah.
and someone who grew up singing church music, and it's like, okay, okay.
Wow.
And then personality wise, well, this is where sometimes
Uh-huh.
the greatest creativity comes from, is just let people be who they want to be, as long as they're
Yes.
not causing problems, as long as they're not being
Yes.
irresponsible, let them be.
Yes.
And so we have
Mm.
our bass player, he likes jumping around. He jumps around, he dances,
Really?
he's crazy.
Wow.
He's all over the
Very
place, and it's
expressive.
great.
Yeah, yeah,
He has
yeah.
so much energy.
Uh-huh.
Usually at the end of every show, he
Hmm.
stands up on top of his bass amp and he jumps off of
Uh-huh.
it.
Wow.
And every time,
Very
I
brave.
am so afraid that he's going to break something, himself, an
Yeah, yeah,
instrument he's
yeah, yeah.
equipment.
Yeah. Hmm.
We actually played a show up on top of a second story porch on a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
balcony
I saw
deck.
that. That was really cool. Uh-huh.
And before the show, I said to him, do
Uh-huh.
not stand on that amp and do not jump off. And he said, no, 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 I won't do that. I won't do that.
Oh
And
my
sure
gosh,
enough, he
this
stood on
was
the amp and
funny.
he jumped off. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to jump over the edge.
Oh
She's
my
going to
gosh.
fall. We're going to be going to the
Yeah,
hospital.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
But it's when you can let people be free like that, and it
Uh-huh.
takes time to get to that point. The team really has to work together. They have to play together. They need to have time to learn how to play off of one another. But
That's
when
so
they
funny.
do,
Oh my God.
that's when the
Uh-huh.
greatest creativity and expression can
Yeah, I
happen.
mean, like, there are actually some people that they have to do something in order to express themselves. And I just know about this. I was like, wow, very brave indeed.
Uh,
I know that you're
and then
worried. Like, other people are worried about them. And he's
and
like,
then
don't worry.
no, he just jumps. He says, "I'm not going to jump," and he jumps. And then
Uh-huh.
our guitarist standing right next to him stands there like a
Uh-huh.
statue the whole night, and he's great. He's a fantastic guitarist, and we love working with him. But it's that
Uh-huh.
interesting mix. It's an
Okay.
interesting mix, and that's what
Mhm.
makes it so great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very interesting indeed. Okay, our next question. Oh, okay. Which of your travels for performing is the most challenging? Is it the weather, the location to reach it, or like the food?
Mm, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
I would say the most challenging part was actually probably going to Korea the first time, and it was just
Mm,
because I was really jet lagged. I had never traveled over to
mm,
Asia before,
mm,
and it was just very tiring. You have to stand up there and play
mm.
2 or 3 concerts a day, and you're
Oh my
already
God.
your time is
Mm,
your internal
yeah,
clock is all messed up. You're
yeah,
in a completely different place. So
yeah.
I'd say being tired is sometimes the hardest
Mm,
thing, and so back to
mm.
this self compassion and self respect is make sure you get a good night's sleep.
Yeah,
Make sure you're
yeah.
rested.
That's actually the hardest one. Because like I
I
went for a work trip and I cannot sleep the first day. And it's like the next day is like, oh, headache day, you know? I have to take like medication for that.
I mean I
Did
played a
you
song,
also?
not medication, but I played a song a couple weeks ago, and it was right after like 4 straight days of
Mm-hmm.
getting up at 5:30 in the morning and spending until like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night with all kinds
Mm-hmm.
of work and rehearsals. And then that Saturday, I got a text message that basically said,
Mm.
"Hey, can you play a song tomorrow?" And I was like, "Of course I want to because I love playing."
Yes, yes.
And it went
Mm.
fine, it went well, but I
Mm.
felt tired during the whole performance. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I know that.
myself,
Uh, Rest is still like the most important thing. It's the way that we recharge ourselves. I mean, like
mhm.
nothing can actually replace our sleep. That is like our like battery for life. Yeah, that is really good one. Okay, and the next one. How do you manage your schedule with your band practice, your teaching, and your performing?
Organized. You have to be organized.
Mm,
It's kind of cliche and it's a simple answer, but a
mm.
Google Calendar and just staying on top of things, and it
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
back to
yeah.
being the responsibility of just keep everything in
Mm-mm.
order, keep and make sure that you are taking on what you can handle and not more than you can
Yes,
handle, but just keeping it all
yes.
organized. That's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, that is actually really true. Taking on what you can handle. That's the most important thing. Okay, and the next one. What is the physical exercise necessary to help to keep up with your schedule?
Just stay active. Um, it,
Uh-huh.
I do a lot of walking. I like to go
Mm-hmm.
to the gym and lift weights, and
Oh, I see.
but just staying
Actually,
active.
lifting weight
It's
is like most important because you're holding an instrument. You have to be strong to hold it, like for like yeah, for your concert because
uh,
actually you have a sling too, right? A
right,
sling
right.
for the
Most of my
saxophone, right?
instruments aren't that heavy. Just my new one, my Barry sax is kind of heavy,
Mm,
but I guess it goes back to that needing to know something about everything until you know somebody who knows more than you,
mm,
and
yeah,
because part of that comes with if you're going to play a concert and you don't have anyone else to do the set up the sound equipment, well,
yeah. Oh my
you're
God.
going to be the ones
Mm,
lifting 45-pound
yeah.
speakers, and so
Everything you have to
it,
do it yourself.
it's
Yeah,
great
yeah,
because
yeah,
you
yeah.
set up and
Uh-huh.
you're lugging all this heavy equipment in and you're setting it up, and that takes about an hour and a half, and you finally
Oh
set
my
it up,
God,
and
that's long.
now you have to play a 2 hour concert,
I know.
and then you finish your concert and you're like, all right, I'm ready to go network. I'm ready to go talk to people. Everybody wants to talk to you. They want to say, hey, you did a great job. We
Yes,
really like this song. Or like,
yes,
what is that instrument? Is
yes,
that a clarinet? No, that's a soprano sax.
yes.
And then you you finish it,
Uh-huh.
and now it's, hey, great. Remember those 45-pound speakers?
I
Well, they need to get back in the van.
know, right? Take it all again. Take it all home.
So for physical, what physical
Uh-huh.
demands are there? It's just
Mhm.
stay active, and
Yeah.
it's also being compassionate for yourself to stay active and stay
Mm.
in a performance shape.
Yeah, that is a good one. That is a good one. Thank you. Okay, and the next one, how would you suggest for us musicians to be able to live a balanced and healthy lifestyle?
I think this comes back down to scheduling and
Mm-hmm.
organization and not taking on more
Mm-hmm.
than you can handle. And it really, and it comes back to the self-respect and self-compassion as well. And that
Yeah.
if you need a week to just not think about music, take that week.
Mm.
It's also good to
Yeah.
have a hobby outside of music.
Yeah.
One of my most frustrating comments is always, "Oh, it's so good that it's such. I'm so glad you can play music as your hobby." And I'm like, "No,
I'm like, no.
music music is my music
Uh-huh.
is my passion. This is what I want to do in life. No,
Yeah.
the music isn't
Yeah.
just a hobby." But with that said,
Yes.
it's good to have a hobby, something to just distract you,
Yes.
take your mind off of music. And so then you really can keep that balance. Go outside for a walk. Maybe
Mm.
you like playing tennis. Go play tennis. Maybe you like
Yes.
cooking or baking. Like, don't just do
Mm-hmm.
music
Yeah.
24 hours, 7 days a week. Just
Yeah.
keep it balanced.
Mm-hmm. I really like that because like it will be like so boring if you only do only music because actually we have to experience other things in life. Like it will make you like a really whole person and it will actually deliver your music better because of those tiny, tiny little bits. Yeah.
Exactly. And you'll be
Yeah.
surprised if you're stuck inside trying to write a song and you can't find inspiration. You're stuck on the song. You got
Yes.
writer's block.
Yes.
I
Yes.
find inspiration in the most random places.
Uh-huh.
I could be driving in the
Wow.
car, outside for a walk, cooking
Uh-huh.
some food. And next thing you know,
Really?
the idea pops in your head. And so sometimes,
When you're cooking?
yeah, yeah, it's the
Wow, so
best.
cool. Uh-huh.
Sometimes it's like you're so focused on one thing
Yes.
that that's actually
Yes.
detrimental to you. And
Yeah,
that
yeah,
by
yeah, yeah.
kind of flipping that creative brain off for just a little
Mm.
bit, you'd be surprised. It'll start creeping back in, and next thing you know,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
back.
Wow, that's actually really cool. I just knew that. Okay, the next one. How do you how do you manage your social media and performance booking? Do you have a manager or assistant to manage everything?
I do not have a manager, and I don't have an
Mm-hmm,
assistant manager. But
mm-hmm,
one of the good things about surrounding yourself with a team is that
mm-hmm.
a good team will kind of divvy up and divide responsibilities,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and that helps.
So it will
That
be
really
like
does help.
anyone will like tell you like oh somebody actually message us or something like that.
Right, and actually, we also divide posting. So our singer will
Mm,
oftentimes make our Instagram stories or our Instagram posts. I do the video editing for YouTube videos
mm,
and
mm-hmm,
concert live streams, anything like that. And our bass
mm-hmm.
player books a lot of our shows. So having that
Wow.
ability to divide up responsibilities is
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
it's a huge weight of responsibility off
Yes,
of one person's
yes,
shoulders.
that is right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is a really good one. Teamwork, yes. Okay. And then the next one. Okay. So, how do you compose your music? What is your process? Because I know that each of us has different process of songwriting, like from start to finish. Hmm.
I get asked this question a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
it it's a really hard one to answer because some people have a really
Mm-hmm.
set way that they every song they write starts with the melody, or every song they write starts with the chords,
Mm-hmm.
or every song they write starts on one specific instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for me, that's not always the case. I can
Mm-hmm.
hear like I could sit down at the piano. A lot of times my songs start with the piano, and I'll sit down at the piano and start working on chords. And I'll come up with a chord
Mm-hmm.
progression, and I really like it.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know,
Mm-hmm.
in my head, before this is even
Mm-hmm.
composed, I'll start hearing all
Uh-huh.
the other instruments. Like it
Oh
could
my
just be the
God, that's like so
piano,
cool.
but I'll hear
Uh-huh.
the drums, I'll hear the bass, I'll hear the
Yeah, yeah,
guitar, I'll
yeah,
hear
yeah, yeah.
saxophone,
Mm-hmm.
everything. And so
That's
from
really
then
cool.
there, it's it just kind of flows, and it doesn't always flow. Sometimes you'll get a little
Mm.
snippet of an idea, like maybe I'll pick up the
Oh.
bass and I'll come up with a bass line and I'm like, wow, I really like this. and then
Mm.
go to the piano and I get some chords, and then it does
Mm.
then it takes some time. And so I wouldn't say there's one set way, but I would
Mm-hmm.
say a lot of my compositions I start with one piece, whether it be the chords or the bass line. It
Okay.
usually isn't the melody, but
Oh,
it
I
starts
see.
with one part, and then I start hearing everything, and it builds from there.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's actually really cool. Okay, and then the next one, how do you manage your focus and concentration for your recording session? Because I can only do like 6 hours, like tops, and like for like a few days in the studio, and sometimes I'm like so tired. I even nap in between the session. So how do you like keep your focus on that?
I like this question.
Mhm.
The longest recording session I ever had was, I think it was 12 hours straight.
Ooh, so
It was
long.
with a band. We went into the studio. We recorded 4 songs in the 12 hours,
Mm,
and it started early in the morning and ended late at night.
mhm,
But we took a lunch. We took a break for lunch. We went out and got
mm,
donuts for breakfast. And
yeah,
so sometimes that's takes breaks as you go along. If you finish one song,
yeah,
take a
yeah.
30-20 minute break. If you
Mm,
then because the worst thing you could do is when you start to get tired is it almost feel like you're banging your head
yeah,
against a wall,
yeah,
because the more
yeah, that
tired
is
you
right.
get, the more mistakes you'll make, the more frustrated you get, the more
Yeah,
agitated. And
yes.
I know I've experienced it. And it's then from there, it's
Mm-hmm.
just nothing is productive, nothing is good. So
Mm-mm,
if you take just a
that
little
is right.
break, or if you need a nap, or you need to go eat a snack,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
do that, then come back
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
just recharge your batteries and get a good night's
Yeah.
sleep.
That is like the most important thing, the sleep. Oh my God. Like we all need it. Like for like a really good process of anything, we need to sleep first. Yeah,
But
that is right.
some days I'll get in the studio and I'll get one song done. That's the way that the day was going.
Really?
Um,
Oh, I see.
Other days I'll get in the
Hmm.
studio and I'll like 2 3 songs. I mean, it'll take
Yeah, yeah,
several
yeah, yeah.
hours, like lots of hours in time. But
Yeah, yeah.
like if the mindset is there, if the focus is there, yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes it comes easily, sometimes it's not. Mm. Yeah, yeah,
but
I
just
get
have
that.
diligence.
Yes, that is right. Okay, our next one. Would you tell us how your activities have led you to content fulfilled lifestyle? I mean, like, what aspect are you grateful for? And what is like your daily motto and motivation?
Daily motto. I'll start with that one.
Mhm.
This
Okay.
actually, I got this quote from, I used to play basketball in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and it was always music
Mm-hmm.
versus basketball. But this is probably one of my favorite quotes, and it
Mm-hmm.
is, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Oh my God, that's so true.
Hard work beats
Yeah,
talent
yeah.
when talent doesn't work hard. So you could have the greatest
Mm-hmm.
talent, but if you don't put in the
Mm-hmm.
work, well, that hard work that somebody else puts in is going to beat that
Mm-hmm.
talent. So would you
Mm-hmm.
rather be on the talent side or the hard work side? Well, we all want to have talent, and we all
Yes.
do have talent.
Yes.
Everybody has talents,
Yes. Yes.
but everyone needs the hard work too. So that would be the daily
Yeah.
motto. As far
Uh-huh.
as a fulfilled life, I
Mm.
think just being able to enjoy every moment, and not to say
Mm.
that there won't be bad moments, but enjoy the moments that you can,
Uh-huh.
with balance as well. But just
Mm-hmm.
for your passion, there's no greater thing than to be able to do your passion, whatever that may be,
That is so true.
music,
Yeah, yeah,
painting.
yeah. Mm.
And it's very sad to me when you meet people that didn't pursue their passion, or
Yeah.
didn't have the opportunity or the chance, and they say
Yes.
years later, oh, if only I had kept playing the trombone, or if only I had.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that they aren't happy, but I
Yeah.
think pursuing your passion, there's no greater joy than that.
Yeah, that is actually really true. I mean, like, I hear a lot of stories on this, and actually, not everyone can actually do it because pursuing like our line of music, it does take a lot of courage, a lot of sacrifice, not just like maybe you see like the good things on the outside, but to go to that point, actually, we have done a lot of things before that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that is a really good one. Okay, and the next one. Do you think that everyone can perform at high level of hard work even without talent? Like, how would you say like the talent like is it so little or something? What do you think?
Well,
Uh-huh.
once again, I think hard work can
Hmm.
overcome lack of talent. But that
Hmm.
doesn't mean that no matter how hard you work, you will be good at everything. Um,
That is true.
I wouldn't say I've put in lots of work or tried, but I am
Hmm.
not a very good guitar player at all. No matter how much I try it,
Yeah,
uh,
I see what you mean.
I, I definitely could work
Uh-huh.
harder at it. I definitely
Hmm.
could practice and work hard at it, but there's no guarantee that you would ever be amazing at it, and it could be anything.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I, but I think that everybody with hard work can find success.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Okay, and then next one. If we are passionate about music, do you think we can always be experts on those instruments? So like if like we keep doing it.
Expert is a very extreme word. Um,
Yeah.
no matter
Very.
how no matter
Uh-huh.
how good you get at something, there will always be
Hmm.
somebody who probably knows something that you don't know. That doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that they're better than you or you're not as good. It just
Hmm.
means that to be an expert, the definition of expert means that you have mastered to the fullest
Yeah.
of abilities.
Yeah.
And that I just think of playing a guitar or a bass.
Hmm.
The, there's so many techniques, there's so many different things, and just when you think you've learned them all,
Yeah.
somebody else will invent something new.
Hmm. That is
So
true. That is true.
expert, I think with hard work and
Hmm.
diligence, I think everyone can become to the best
Yeah.
of their abilities
Yeah.
and opportunities. But
Hmm.
experts, I don't think there is no such thing as perfect.
Yeah. Because like everything keeps changing and there will be always new things that is coming up and we have to keep constantly learning. So it will like, I don't know, take forever to learn, to be like, to know everything in this world because like there are a lot of things in this world that actually we don't really know much,
Hmm.
right? Yeah. Okay, the next one. What is your creative process for improvisation? So, because like as a jazz musician, you perform a lot of improvisation on the spot, right? So, how do you do that?
This is another hard one to explain.
Uh-huh.
I think a lot of it comes down to feeling,
Mm,
how you're feeling in the moment, and where words sometimes fail to speak. That's where music comes in, and
yeah.
that your instrument is an extension of your emotions and your spirits.
Mm-hmm.
That so when it comes to improvising, and it's not just improvising, but any performance of music, you want to channel all of that, what you're feeling in that moment, that emotion, that power, and your passion,
Yeah.
and push it
Mm-hmm.
through your instrument, whatever that extension. And so there's all kinds of techniques and ways,
Mm,
studies, and ways to learn improvisation and to sit there and master it piece by piece, step by step,
mm.
just like learning any style of music.
Yeah.
But sometimes, in my mind, the best improvisation is what's coming from the heart.
Yeah. 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 It's something that we cannot like created like beforehand, right? Because like I'm handling a lot of teaching where actually I want the students to improvise, and sometimes they're really scared to even like press a note, even though I just said
Hmm.
press anything from C, D, E, F, G. So just like literally anything, it won't be wrong, and they're like so scared. Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe they're scared to be wrong or something.
I mean, once you've learned the techniques, you've learned the different scales, you've learned the different patterns or different notes that you can play, so you know what a good
Hmm.
note and a bad note would be
Yeah,
that you're playing in the right key.
yeah,
Let loose,
yeah,
let it be free. And if
yeah.
in the world of jazz, you are even if you play a
Uh-huh.
bad note, you are always one note away from a good note.
Oh my God, that's so true. Thank you for telling us that. Okay, and then the next one. What are the work ethics essential to be a successful musician? Is it hard work enough to achieve it? Or if there are more points, what are they?
I think hard work is definitely part of it. We've talked a lot about that, and I think the other part is having a hunger and a thirst for knowledge, for studying.
Mm.
It goes
Mm-hmm.
back to the knowing something about everything, and
Yeah.
it just happens to be that okay, you can play an instrument really well, but how do you
Mm-hmm.
do social media? Or you want
Yes.
to record, how do you record? How do
Mm.
you compose? And so I
Yeah.
think there needs to be like, if you're passionate, there needs to be this
Mm-hmm.
burning hunger and desire to
Yeah.
improve as a
Yeah.
well-rounded musician, not just one facet.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for saying that. Well-rounded is also included in wholeness concept, which is actually already talked about, but it will be our like next talk. Okay, so this is the last question. What do you do when things don't go according to plan? Do you prepare alternative solutions or solve as you go? This happens, for example, a team member suddenly cancel on you, and then there's like a problem with the sound system. This kind of stuff like happens to me too, like several times.
Uh,
Hmm.
been there, done that. I've had
Hmm.
I've had sound system issues. I've had all kinds of things, and you
Hmm.
can plan for as much as you think could go wrong, and there will still be
Hmm.
something else that may go wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
For example, I always keep there's a specific adapter that some
Hmm.
pianos need, electric keyboards
Hmm.
need to be able to go into the sound
Hmm.
system to connect the cable
Yes,
properly.
yes.
And I have like four of these adapters because you always
Wow.
end up someone loses it or you forget it.
Uh-huh.
And so that's how you
Yeah,
plan. That's how you prepare. You're like, all right, what could go wrong? Well, the keyboardist could have the
yeah.
wrong type of connection. So I'll have the adapter. Great. So that's one way you can plan.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there
yeah.
was this one
Hmm.
show that we played. This was pre Midnight
Hmm.
Motion. There was one show that we played. It was on an
Hmm.
island off the coast
Hmm.
of New England. So to get there, we had to drive 2 hours, ride a ferry for an
Hmm.
hour, and then we were there all weekend. And the pianist goes,
Hmm.
all right, you have the adapter? Yes, I do. And he
Hmm.
pulls it out, puts his keyboard up, and realizes he forgot his power cable.
Oh my God. It's
So
like so funny.
we went running around checking every
Uh-huh.
electrical appliance that we could find to
Yeah.
find the right connector so that we could have power to the keyboard.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So you can plan as much as you want. It's always good to have a backup plan,
Hmm.
have contingencies in place.
Yeah.
Maybe it rains. Another example is you're playing an outdoor show. It might rain.
Uh-huh.
It's good to have something in the car to
Hmm.
cover everything because
Yeah.
water and electricity do not go well together.
Yeah.
Or
It's like
you
so
get up on
bad.
stage.
Uh-huh.
You get up on stage and
Hmm.
you pull out your instrument and you go to play, and let's
Hmm.
say it's a violin and a string breaks.
Oh my
There's not
God.
much you can
Yeah,
do
yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. Hmm.
You
Hmm.
set your saxophone up and it knocks over, it
Hmm.
falls, and it breaks. There's not much you
Yeah.
can do
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
So there are some things
That's
you can
so
plan
true.
for. There are
Yes.
some things that will just always find a way to go wrong, but it's not
Yeah.
necessarily your preparation for it because you've done everything
Yes.
you could do to prepare. It's your
Hmm.
reaction to that situation. And
Hmm.
it goes back
That is
to
true.
you can choose to say, oh, well, that didn't work.
Yes.
I'm gonna go hide in my office, close the door, leave
Yes.
me alone for a week.
Mhm.
Or you can say, let's learn from
Mhm.
this. Maybe we need an
Yeah.
extra power cord. Let's learn from this, and we'll
Yes.
get up. And
Yes.
because everything that you learn is an opportunity to grow.
Mm-mm. That is true. I mean, like, we can always come prepared, but sometimes there are just things just like unknown things happen to us, and it is our reaction that is actually very important. How are we going to handle that? How are we going to solve it? And to what degree are you going to take it as a lesson? Yeah, that's actually really good. Thank you for telling us that. Okay, so we're done for today. And do you
All
have
right.
any last words for our viewers about
I
mission values?
I just want to thank you for having me on
Yes.
tonight in Boston time, today in Indonesia time. It's been a great honor and pleasure to talk with you, and hope we could maybe do it again sometime.
Yes, of course. And thank you for having us here today. It's actually my honor to have you with us today to introduce you. You're a very talented person and actually really funny with all of your experiences. And it's actually really important because everything is not perfect in this life. And it is up to us how are we going to react to it and actually to make it better for the next time. Okay, so everyone, don't forget to follow John on other social media platforms. So the IG is Jon Lawson Sachs, and also the same name with Facebook, YouTube, and also Spotify. Don't forget to download his music and listen to it because it's like so good, like really good. I'm addicted to it. Okay, so anyway, have a lovely night there, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much,
All
guys.
right. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Bye.